Today, we're diving into an ancient blueprint for health, straight from the Ayurvedic text, the Ashtanga Hridya. We're going to explore a really fascinating system that sees our health not as some fixed, static thing, but as a dynamic balance between three core pillars. So let's see what this ancient wisdom has to teach us. So, before we break it all down, let's just start with a question to get you thinking. What are the three fundamental roots that are said to govern absolutely everything in your body, from your thoughts all the way down to your tissues? Keep that question in the back of your mind as we go. All right, so the text we're looking at, specifically chapter 11 of the Ashtanga Hridaya, tells us that our entire body is supported by three essential constituents, and it doesn't describe them as separate parts, but as the very roots of our physical existence. And here they are: dosha, dhatu, and mala. Now, a really simple way to think about them is like this. The doshas are kind of like the invisible governing forces, the managers running the whole operation. The dhatus are the physical structures they manage, all the body's tissues. And the malas, well, those are the essential waste products, the natural output of all this activity. These three together make up the complete system of the body. So before we get into what happens when things go wrong, let's take a look at what this system looks like when it's all working in perfect harmony. What is the specific job of each of these pillars when we're in a state of amazing health? The text, super clear about this: when these three are in balance, they sustain life. Simple as that. But when they're out of balance, they can actually lead to its destruction. So yeah, understanding their proper function is pretty crucial. Let's start with the most dynamic of the three pillars, the doshas. First up, we've got vata, the principle of movement. And this isn't just about, walking or running. Vata governs all movement in the body, everything from the breath moving in and out of your lungs to the circulation of nutrients and even making sure waste gets eliminated properly. It's also tied to our sense of enthusiasm and drive. Next up is pitta, the energy of transformation and metabolism. Now, its most obvious job is digestion, breaking down the food we eat. But pitta is also in charge of our body heat, our vision, which literally transforms light into images, and even our intellectual digestion of ideas, which contributes to things like intelligence and courage. And finally, there's kapha. This is the energy of structure and lubrication. Kapha is what gives the body its stability and its substance. It lubricates our joints, keeps our skin moisturized, and forms all those protective linings for our organs. Mentally, it's connected to qualities like patience and steadiness. Okay, on to the second pillar, the dhatus, which are the 7 body tissues. What's so fascinating here is that they're believed to be formed one after the other, in a sequence, like a biological assembly line. It all starts with rasa, or plasma, which then nourishes and creates our blood. The blood then builds muscle, muscle builds fat, and so on, in this amazing cascade all the way to shukra, the reproductive tissue. Every single step is absolutely essential for building and maintaining our physical body. And the third pillar, the one that often gets overlooked, is mala, the waste products. In this system, getting things out is just as important as building things up. Feces are actually seen as physically supporting the body. Urine gets rid of excess moisture, and sweat helps maintain the health of our skin. So you see, they're not just waste, they're functional outputs of a healthy body, and their condition can give us major clues about what's going on inside. Okay, so we've seen the ideal state, the perfect picture. But what happens when this delicate internal ecosystem gets disturbed? This is really where we start to see the Ayurvedic concept of disease taking shape. Now, imbalance isn't just one thing. It can happen in 2 main ways. There's what's called vriddhi, which just means an increase or having an excess of something. And then there's kshaya, which means a decrease or having a deficiency. Both directions, too much or too little, are considered the starting points of illness. Let's make this real with an example. Take vata. If vata increases too much, you start seeing symptoms of excess movement and dryness. Things like tremors, bloating, constipation, even anxiety. But on the flip side, if vata decreases, you get the opposite, a feeling of exhaustion, less activity, and in extreme cases, even a loss of consciousness. It's a spectrum, right? And the goal is always that balanced center. And the exact same logic applies to pitta. Too much pitta and you get symptoms of excess heat, like a burning sensation, yellowish skin, and maybe you can't sleep. But a deficiency, on the other hand, means that metabolic fire is low, and that can lead to a dull complexion, feeling cold, and really weak digestion.
And this principle of balance extends even to waste products. I mean, look at urine, for example. An excess can cause pain and that awful feeling of incomplete elimination, but a deficiency can be just as bad, leading to painful or very scanty urination. It just goes to show that proper elimination is a key sign of good health.
And this is where we find a really surprising piece of wisdom from the text. It actually says that a decrease in waste products is often more troublesome than an increase. But why? Well, think about it. The body is designed for and accustomed to regular elimination. So when that process suddenly falters, it can cause a much bigger systemic disruption. And this just illustrates the whole cascade effect that leads to disease perfectly. It's like a domino effect. It starts with the doshas, the managers going out of whack. They then start to mess up the dhatus, the tissues they're supposed to be managing. Then, together, they corrupt the malas, the waste products. This whole mess ends up blocking the body's channels, the pathways for nutrients and waste, and that's ultimately how illness shows up. So, after all that, what's the big takeaway here? If we zoom out from all the nitty-gritty details, we get to a single, really powerful conclusion about what health actually is. This quote from the end of chapter 11 it says it all. The doshas aren't inherently good or bad. They're these powerful forces that, when they're in balance, create and sustain our bodies. But when they become abnormal, either too much or too little, those very same forces become agents of destruction. So the really crucial takeaway is this. According to this ancient framework, health isn't some passive state you get to by just avoiding problems. It's an active, dynamic equilibrium that requires constant attention and adjustment. It is all about maintaining the harmony between these three pillars. And that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. If you started to view your body not as a machine with separate replaceable parts, but as this interconnected system that's constantly seeking balance, how might that change the small choices you make for your health every single day?